Isel Latania. The general reaction to that name is mostly the same. Nobles always inquire who she is. One of them believed that she was her neighbor. A noble lady corrects, stating that her neighbor's name was Ian. Whatever the case, she wasn't a well-known person, because she was merely a side character in this novel. A man with gray hair asks if she was the one who wanted to see him. He's heard that she's been sending people to request an audience with him for the last month. He's not one to meet with anyone no matter how much they ask. She smiles, revealing that she knows who he is and how hard it is to meet him. This man is Archduke Karl Georg Byron. She saw him out because he is no ordinary man she can meet on the street like a rock. He seems confused, exclaiming, "Some ordinary rock?" She tells him to have a seat, as she would love to talk with someone as hard as him to meet with. She directs him to the other side to have a seat. She introduces herself as Isel Latania Aspenzer. The Archdale responds he never heard her name before. She smiles, telling him it's okay, as she expected that he would not remember. He twitches, thinking that he does not remember. He inquires if she is a noble. She tells him yes, and that she comes from a family that is someone lesser known among the nobility, but it's the first time the Duke has heard the name Aspenzer. She thinks to herself that he seems deep in thought. She tells him not to worry, it does not matter her family name or what family she comes from. All that really matters is that she is here to meet him and that he is here to see her. He seems unimpressed and verifies that he's quite occupied with reconstructing the army and the knights. He's been busy kicking out, sending back and expelling all the individuals she has been sending him. However, she continues to send more. He simply became curious and wanted to know the name of the person who wouldn't tell their name but ask for a meeting. She inquires how does it feel to finally meet the person who has been annoying him. With a stern face he tells her he hopes that whatever it is, it was worth annoying him for a whole month. She smiles innocently. He finds it hard to believe that there's someone who can smile like that in front of him. The Archduke is a man of few words and immediately cold. Even in normal conversations his tone seems somewhat distant. He needs his lieutenants, his knights, and even the imperial family. Uncomfortable, his good looks and muscular physiques were dashing at first glance. However, the majority of women were terrified of him. Despite his background on appearance, he was difficult to approach. He then tells her to get straight to the point. She inquires if he has no time for tea. He responds he does not. She chuckles, thinking that's understandable. She explains that she needs his help. He asked if she did not hear what he said. He is very busy. She tells him that she's aware, however she still needs his help, but she plans to make a fair repayment. He lowers his gaze, tapping the table repeatedly. As he looks up at her, he requested to know what assistance she required before he makes his decision. She beams with joy, explaining that there's something she wants to do, but it would cause quite a stir, since a single misstep could be seen as an act of treason. He frowns, asking what she means. She tells him she wants him to cover up and keep things in check. He's furious. To plan a revolt is a capital offense. Even planning one has repercussions on 3 generations in one's family. It's absurd that she wants him to go further than aiding her. She wants him to be an accomplice. He tells her that's insane. He inquires if she wants him to lead a treason plot. She smiles. She knew he would respond this way. House Byron is a family of knights that has pledged allegiance to the imperial family for over 500 years. Moreover, the men of the Grand Duchy are known for their rigidity and inflexible demeanor. Asking this particular person of all people to be understanding of her intent to revolt is like asking him to take her head. However, she's pictured his reaction so many times that she is not even surprised. She responds that there must be some confusion on his part, as she never asked him to take charge. All she wanted was for him to protect her family in the bounds of the law and his authority. He asked if it isn't the same thing. She exclaims the two are completely different. Furthermore, she doesn't plan to stage a rebellion. Instead, her plan will save both the empire and the world. She asked if he's aware that the monsters and demons that were chased out are returning. He asked how she knew, but she cut him off, explaining that the safety of the empire will be in jeopardy. After all, winter is fast approaching and there won't be enough food or equipment to fight against this impending disaster. Just imagine fighting demons and monsters in such a situation. She's so bold to even wager that the imperial palace will fall within 15 days. Byron becomes even enraged as she has hit the nail on the head. She suggests that he helps her and she will deal with the issue with the troops. She explains that she will provide a year worth of food for 500,000 troops, including firewood, clothing, oil and flint and so on, plus all necessary items. He's shocked. She is willing to fix the issue that he's been dealing with for the last couple of months. This offer was sweet enough, but she further states that she will give it to him for free if he agrees to her terms. He's flabbergasted to the point he begins speaking formally to her. She repeats what she said, free of charge, which is like sweet words to his ears. He asked if she is aware of the current food prices. She chuckles, stating that they are 10 times more expensive than they were in the summer. He questions if she will still do it for free despite knowing this. She happily explains that it is the least she can do. She stands up, stating that's the price she should pay for someone that won't meet anyone. She slides him her card. She tells him she's fully aware of his standing in the empire. She knows in wartime, his decision has more weight than even the emperor. As a result, he is the only one she can turn to for assistance. He stands up, inquiring who she is. He's never heard her family name before. She's aware of a secret that's only known to a small few, and she's giving absurd terms. He glares at her, stating, "Who are you?" With a serious expression she reveals that she is from a poor family, but she's never considered wealth to be very important. There's some things that money cannot buy. He seems confused, wondering what she's saying. Suddenly she begins to laugh, exclaiming that money is everything. With money it is possible to seize control of the empire's information network and even purchase an arrogant archmage, 500s and thousands of people. Fight against monsters and even of the most important man in the palm of her hands. She explains to him that she is pressed for time. She has lots of money but little time for a luxury, so if he is not satisfied with her conditions he should let her know. After this she plans to see the emperor. Moments later she holds papers in her hands telling him that she appreciates his fast decision. He inquires about what she said earlier. She seems confused and wonders what he's talking about. He reminds her that she had said that they met before, so he asks if they have met before. He knows it's impossible to remember every single person he's met, but there's a strange uncomfortable feeling. She tells him they met a long time ago, maybe even a decade or 15 years ago. Going by what she said, that means they met when he was around 10 years old. She assures him that she understands if he cannot remember, because most memory at childhood is not vivid. Besides, they haven't met each other since that incident and she hasn't made any public appearance. He questions how did they meet and how does she know who he is. With a sly smile she asks if he's curious. He flinches at the sudden change in her tone of voice. She then gets up, stating that he used to be such a coward and if he's now a crybaby. She tells him when they were younger and she was about to go back home. He approached her and suggested that when they get older, they should get married. If you had a choice, who would you prefer? Parents who adopted you and raised you for 20 years versus rich biological parents who showed up after 20 years, which one would you pick? Our protagonist has already made her choice. If she had to choose, she would choose wealthy biological parents instead of adoptive parents. She's grateful to her adoptive parents for the 20 years they've spent raising her. However, money is everything. At a young age she realized without money there is no chance of happiness. The people who adopted her had twins not too long after she was adopted, so obviously she was neglected. When she first moved out after becoming an adult, she learned the hard way that life wasn't easy, but it was very rough and difficult without money. However, when she was reincarnated she felt like her life could not get any better. As a daughter of a noble family, on the eldest at that, she no longer had to worry about her daily expenses. The name of the country, high-ranking nobles and emperor all sounded familiar to her. But it didn't matter, it was even better for her that way. However, she still found it hard to believe that she was rich. She didn't care if she was in some novel or comic, all that mattered was that she was a noble. But things did not go to where she wished, because her family became bankrupt. Her family business failed and the property was mortgaged overnight. It was a surprise that nobles could go bankrupt. Even worse, they seized all their property just because they lost all their money. It was truly medieval times. But even if a rich person were to go bankrupt, their wealth should last for at least 3 generations. So how did this happen? In the end, all they were left with was a rundown mansion with no one to care for it. She thinks to herself that if they were going to take everything, they should have taken the house too. Selling the house seemed like the only way to resolve all their issues, but that was impossible because it belonged to the imperial family. She didn't know if it was a good or bad thing. It was a great mansion, but it was now empty. After a while, her lavish eating habits were replaced by a bowl of plain soup. Her mother apologizes, explaining that this is all she could make for a meal. Her father says that this meal is better than any extravagant feast, which is an obvious lie. He thanks his beautiful wife for the meal, and they begin eating. The soup has gotten thinner after being boiled down again and again. Her father surprises her mother by revealing that he met Sir Walmore today. After hearing about their situation, Walmore offered to help them. His wife clasps her hands, stating that it's wonderful news. She then asks if he's planning on starting another strange business again. He's terrified and quickly explains that they were only chatting. She inquires if he is sure, as there's no telling what will happen to him if he is lying. He exclaims, "Of course, dear." Our protagonist thinks her father is at it again. The family's bankruptcy wasn't her father's fault. There was a promissory note issued to the former Viscount Aspenzer for overextending his business. By the time her father took over, it was already out of control. He used all the money he had on business, but in the end, he was betrayed by a friend, and they lost everything. He smiles, thinking it's a relief. His daughter thinks he should really read the room. He covers his mouth as his wife glares at him. His wife tells him that she loves every aspect of him, but he tends to be too trusting. She informs him it's fine to trust others and take financial losses, but not now. It's better to do it when they're in a better financial position. Her husband replies that as long as he's with her, he doesn't mind eating thin gruel for the rest of his life, but they can't have their daughter starve when she's at the age when she's supposed to eat well. However, to their shock, she has cleaned her plate. They fall silent, they don't know whether to be happy or sad. Her mother is glad that she's eating well, but the fact that she's eating such bland soup is another matter entirely. The protagonist thinks she shouldn't have eaten the entire soup. She believes the soup is edible, and there's no need to be mindful of what she eats. Her mother explains that their daughter needs to eat well, and he should understand what she's saying. Her husband tells her not to fret because next month, the imperial family's decision on their bankruptcy petition will be revealed. At that point, he'll receive a subsidy, so she doesn't have to worry. With a deadly smile, she inquires if he's aware that many nobles ended up starving to death because they were too carefree. With a steely expression, he exclaims, "Of course." She tells him that she has faith in him. Our protagonist was reincarnated into a world full of familiar names. Unfortunately, she hasn't figured out which fictional universe she's in yet. She realized that she was reborn into another world when she was around 4 years old, dealing with some familiar names and a country that was also familiar because it was the name of a country in a novel she had read. However, she cannot remember the name of the novel. She's read a lot of novels, so she really has no clue which one she could be inhabiting. She feels there's nothing she can do. If only her family were wealthy and powerful, she could spend time with high-ranking nobles with names she recognizes and figure things out. But now is not the time for that because she's from a poor, helpless, ruined noble family. After being gone all day, her father returns home empty-handed. Even his shoulders look heavy from the way they sag. She needs to quickly find out which novel this is so that she can find a way to make money. She refuses to live poorly again in this life. After all, money is everything. She ponders what genre the novel could be, harem or romance. She's a big fan of romance, so that's possible, but she hopes it's not the horror one she read a few times. Suddenly, loud noises catch her attention. She stands at the stairs, peeping at the door, wondering who it could be. No one should be here at this hour. She wonders if it could be debt collectors. Unfortunately, her father and mother are not home, so she thinks it's best to pretend she's not home. However, they're knocking on the door so hard it seems like it's going to break down. She wonders if they plan to continue knocking like that until the door is opened. She believes she has no other choice but to open the door. She opens the door and asks, "Who is it?" Before her stands a dark-haired man with dark red eyes looking down at her. A servant informs him that this is the child. It's possible that they have come to collect a debt, so she plans to act innocent. The man inquires if she is Iselle Latania. She notices his scary face but, in a calm demeanor, inquires who he is. He tells her that she can't answer a question with another question like that. He inquires if she is Iselle Latania again. He glares at her, and she thinks that she should have left the door closed, but maybe he is her parents' guest. He rummages through his coat with a tired expression, takes out a notice, and states that even though she's from a fallen family, she should know how to read it. She takes the notice, wondering what it could be. However, he continues to glare at her as she looks at the notice. The man exclaims, "How can such an illiterate idiot be let into their school? It's practically madness." This angers our protagonist, who finds it hard to believe that she's being called an idiot to her face. She inquires if he's from the Basilia family. He asks how she knows. She points at the envelope, stating that it's on it, so she thought he was from that family. She comments if he is an idiot. Veins pop up on his face, and he glares at her intensely. He asks her to repeat what she just said. She ignores his request and asks about the document. However, he tells her to repeat what she said again. Seeing the situation escalate, a servant tells him that she's just a kid. With an innocent expression, she thinks, what will he do to her? After all, she knows nothing. He can't get angry at a child, can he? He gives a miserable smile, stating that he'll give her some advice. Not many houses but the Basilia family will get this kind of special treatment, but it's better if she doesn't come because if she comes, she'll just realize how poor she is. She ponders if he just doesn't want to lose or if he's trying to humiliate her. He turns around, telling his men to leave. She thinks to herself that he has ruined her morning. At times like this, it's best to scatter salt around the area to remove all the evil present. However, she's so poor that she can't afford salt. Instead, she scatters sand around the area, praying he will step on some dog poop. This is one more reason to earn money. Her parents can't believe it's time already. This will be difficult. Her father asks if she's already ready. She explains that the descendants of the Basilia family can join the school without having to pay fees. That's what is in the document. He tells her that she is qualified to study there, which means that the Aspencer family is a distant branch of the Basilia family tree. She doesn't remember well, but it seems to her that there was a book that mentioned the Basilia family, who played a great part in helping build the empire, a noble family who went bankrupt due to their business. Quite unexpected that they're related to such a prominent family. She inquires if she has to go. Her parents tell her it's not compulsory, but Basilia education is known for its high quality. Such high-quality classes like these aren't easy to find anywhere else. That means the children studying there are all coming from distinguished noble families. They aren't noble anymore, and yet they are distant relatives of the Basilia family. She thinks her father and mother must be afraid that she'll be discriminated against. However, she's more afraid that her father will get hurt. Her father thinks that even if he hired a competent teacher to be her private tutor, it wouldn't be enough to catch up to the Basilia classes. He wonders if his daughter will be able to pursue it on her own. Her mother assures him that if Azel wants to go there to study, then she should go. As a noble, she should receive a basic education. Yet she has not yet received that basic education. There will be many other things that Azel couldn't learn in the future, and at that time, an opportunity like this may never come again. However, how can any parent tell their child that because they are fallen nobles, they will be discriminated against? She tells them that she will go. She smiles brightly, assuring her father and mother not to worry about her. Who knows, maybe she can learn more about the world. She couldn't possibly miss this opportunity. In the next scene, they arrive at her institution of learning. It's a luxurious place that catches everyone's attention. It's even bigger when she looks closely. They are spotted by a guard, who approaches them and inquires how they got there. Her father gives him the document. He immediately notices that it's Basilia's pedigree. He looks at the paper and back at them, seemingly confused that these people belong to Basilia's pedigree. Her father notices his unbelieving expression, so he informs him that they are the Aspencer family. His demeanor becomes dark. He bluntly tells them that it's the first time he's heard of such a family. He ponders if the letter is fake. Noticing his harsh demeanor, she questions how he would talk to her father like that. Her father has been talking to him politely, so she calls out to him, catching his attention. He exclaims, "What?" She asks if he's a noble because most of the people who speak without using honorifics to her father are nobles, so he must be a noble too. He is stunned at her words because it's all true. No matter how they look, they are still nobles, not to mention that they belong to such a prestigious family. He begins to cower and tells them, "Welcome, and please come in." Seeing how the guard had looked down on them, her father can only imagine how the nobles will treat her. He hopes that she won't feel hurt by that. They arrive at the door to her class. This is where her father must leave her to go on her own. She smiles, stating that she will come back when she's done. With teary eyes, her father bids farewell to his beautiful daughter. He tells her to be careful and that he believes in her. Suddenly, a man approaches them and comments on the interesting predicament, saying he did not expect them to actually come. He says he doesn't know if they are hopeless or just have thick skin, sneering and exclaiming maybe it's both. He introduces himself as Gerald Baskelia, extending his hand and informing them that his son will also be attending the classes so they are similar. This man is the second son of House Baskelia. She finds it infuriating that he introduced himself to them after mocking them. Her father extends his hand to his, introducing himself as Beoric Aspencer. Gerald quickly withdraws his hand, adding insult to the wound. Beoric can barely believe it, lowering his head and stunned at what just happened. Gerald walks away stating that class will begin soon, so she should get inside. As he walks away, Gerald takes out his handkerchief and wipes off his hand as if he had just been in contact with something extremely dirty. As her father watches this, he clenches his fist in anger. The protagonist wonders who he thinks he is. Now she has another reason for going to school here. She enters the class but is astonished. Gerald had said that class would begin soon, but only one person is present. She wonders if everyone else is late, but the class size is very intimidating. A blonde-haired girl in a blue dress approaches her, introducing herself as Lancha, stating it's nice to meet her but stuttering a lot while speaking. Our protagonist stares at her, blinking, wondering if she just heard a country accent. Lancha quickly covers her mouth, her face red and seemingly ready to cry. She stutters, stating that it was a mistake. However, our protagonist does not think it was a mistake, rather, it was really cute. Lancha frantically states that she's messing it all up, with a handkerchief in her hand and blowing her nose. She explains that her parents are from a distant land, which explains the accent. The protagonist was not expecting a girl who wears such expensive dresses as if she's going to a tea house to have such a strong country accent. Lancha has spent a year trying to act like a dignified lady because that's how people act in this area. Unfortunately, when she's nervous, her accent comes out more. Our protagonist tells her not to cry because what's wrong with a country accent? While crying, Lancha explains that she heard that people from the capital look down on people from far away because those people are country bumpkins. She's not completely wrong, people usually assume that the place she comes from is a rural area. She tells her that it could be worse as there are things they hate more than a country accent. Lancha asks, like what? Our protagonist smiles, thinking of many things, like being from a poor noble family that has become a ruined family. Lancha stares at her and explains that she looks like a doll. Her beautiful red eyes are captivating, and it's the first time she's seen anyone with such ruby red eyes. She smiles, explaining that they are really pretty. She introduces herself as Lancha Erman, House Erman's second daughter. Our protagonist introduces herself and, at that moment, a child approaches them, asking if this is it. Lancha is extremely nervous that he's approaching them, and our protagonist only stares at him nonchalantly. He approaches them, and Lancha exclaims her name. However, he ignores her and approaches the protagonist, asking if she's the protagonist. Our protagonist asks if he knows her. He exclaims that he was right and yes, he does know her. The boy smirks, stating that she's from a noble family that lacks substance and dignity. He had been warned not to associate with such a low-class girl, or he might become just like her. Lancha interjects, the boy inquires if Lancha spoke to her without even knowing who she is. Furthermore, it's obvious by how cheap and shabby she dresses, she's not a noble, only a noble in name alone. Her house is no different than the peasants out on the street. Our protagonist stands up, inquiring how old he is. He explains, what? She tells him that he looks older than her. The boy smirks, stating that he's obviously 10 years old. She questions what he's doing there since they start taking classes at 8 years old, so what is a 10-year-old doing there? Maybe he's just an idiot. The boy is shocked to be insulted in such a manner. Even worse is the fact that he's 2 years older, and there's not much of a height difference. She asks Lancha to stand up. Lancha stands next to the boy, and to no one's shock, they are the same height.